just thankful for this beautiful weather that you've given us, dear Lord Heavenly Father. And again, we just thank you for all of the resources that you have provided for our people, dear Lord Heavenly Father. And as we go through the day, just ask that you be with our chief, assistant chief, and all of our Congress and our minerals. And dear Lord Heavenly Father, just ask that you bless those that are in mourning, bless those that are ill and in the hospital, and just ask that you look down upon our children and touch their little minds and hearts and bless them like that, dear Lord Heavenly Father. I ask all these things in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Congressman. Next on the agenda is roll call.
Congressman Big Horse,
Here.
Congresswoman Good Fox,
Present.
Second Speaker Hamilton,
Here.
Congressman Keene,
Present.
Congresswoman Lemon, Congressman Maker,
Here.
Congressman Potts,
Present.
Congresswoman Redcorn,
Here.
Congresswoman Revard,
Here.
Congressman Tillman,
Here.
Congresswoman Whitehorn,
Here.
Assistant Chief Walker,
Here.
Speaker Shaw.
Present. Thank you, Clerk. We do have a quorum. Next on the agenda, approval of journals. You will see that we have two journals to approve. First, September 3rd, 2024, and also September 5th, 2024. They're attached to the meeting notice.
Speaker,
Yes, Congresswoman.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the journal dated September 3rd, 2024, as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. The journal is approved for September 3rd, 2024. Thank you.
Speaker,
Yes, Congresswoman.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes dated September 5th, 2024, as presented.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Thank you. Motion carries. The journal from day 3 is approved. We're now on introduction of bills or resolutions. Hearing none, we'll move on to bills and resolutions on first reading. Congressman Keene.
Thanks, Speaker. I'd like to read in ONCR 2422, a resolution to set the compensation and reimbursement allowance for the boards and commissions of the Osage Nation for fiscal years 2025 and 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Keene. ONCR 2422 will be assigned to the Commerce, Gaming, and Land Committee. We're now on motions and notices. A, enter into a committee of the whole for discussion of capital projects. Chair will entertain a motion to do so.
So,
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion passes. We are now in committee of the whole. Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to everyone for the work that we did yesterday. I know that it was somewhat of a tedious day. We got through many of the ARPA projects. We still have some capital projects to move through today. Everyone should have an updated updated spreadsheet that lists all of the projects with the most updated information that we have at this time. So hopefully what we're paying attention to for sure, that funds that have yet to be obligated, keeping in mind that specifically on the ARPA projects, there is a date that we need to be aware of December 31st, 2024. We talked about that yesterday, but I just wanted to remind everyone of that case. The next item that we have to discuss as far as capital projects is the primary residential treatment center. So I'd like to ask the folks from our health system to take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure what was discussed yesterday. Do you just want me to kind of give an update where we're at currently? Is that the ask or?
Yes, we just need a quick update on the project for
Okay.
PRT.
As you all know, we had a ribbon cutting on July 22nd. There's been some obvious setbacks. The main one was the fiber connection to all 5 buildings. The initial connection was to the first admin building. In order to, one of the main reasons other than having internet to those buildings is in order to gain occupancy from the state fire marshal, we had to have our fire alarms system set up. All 5 buildings had to have a network connection in order for that to take place. So on 7/15, we made notification to Osage Connect, and they restarted the project to run fiber to the other 4 buildings. I believe that took about a 2.5 week process. I'm not blaming them. I know that that takes time. It was about a 5 business day process for us to get our network stood up once the fiber was ran to those. And then there was an issue with the pump station. If you all remember, we had to get an additional $420,000 to provide the pump houses or tanks, I believe, for the fire suppression system, and that had to be in place before we could call out the fire marshal. I spoke with Steve Wright with the Builders Unlimited yesterday, and he's calling the fire marshal today, and he told us he's expect at the latest a 7-day turnaround. As soon as we gain occupancy, I spoke to our team yesterday. We expect we need 5 days. Get everything, our computers all set up, and our staff is ready to start doing the intakes for our clients as soon as we gain occupancy. But we're playing that juggling game. He could, on a whim, show up today. That's unlikely, or it could be the full 7 days and maybe not whatever the following Monday is, the next week and a half. But again, as soon as we are given occupancy, we will start doing client intakes. We have, I believe, 8 women on the waiting list, and I believe 6 men on the waiting list. So we will immediately start intaking those folks. And then while we are moving into the actual facilities, that includes, as small as putting in linens, getting our food. We already have our food distributor ready. So those 5 days we estimate, and we're going to expedite that as fast as possible. But we also want to make sure that the spaces are safe for our clients, and everything, all the measurables are taken care of before they move in.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Questions? Thank you very much. Yes, Congresswoman Rivard.
Good morning, Kirk.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming down and giving an update. So how many of so right now you guys are occupied up here at the clinic. and part of the Minerals Council, or the BIA building, or our building.
Correct.
And then out here west of town. And then you have offices in the Civic Center as well?
Chair.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
correct.
Okay, so you have all, how many of your folks from these areas will be actually moving out to the facility? Would it be just the folks up here in the bank, the counseling center staff?
So we still have some staff in both the men's and women's PRTs, for them to be housed there while, during this downtime. So both the folks from the men's and women's PRT will be moving out there, and obviously the folks from the fourth floor, and then the director of over the program is currently housed with us at an admin, so we'll have one moving out there. And then there's a few, security personnel will be moving from the clinic to out there. So there's a couple stragglers, for lack of a better term, but most of the folks from the fourth floor, the men's and women's PRT currently, the old facilities, they'll be moving out there, and then the director.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions regarding PRT? Yes, go ahead, Congresswoman.
So you mentioned the intake on the adults right now for the men and women. What about on the youth side?
So we contracted with her name is Dr. Crystal Hernandez. She's worked for the state, she's worked for tribes. There's a lot more regulations, as I'm sure that you all are aware, with adolescent. There's some things that, we still have to work through in order to open up the adolescent facility. Some things that were probably missed during the design phase. As she stated, she gave us a list of things that we have to work on, and which we are actively working on. One of them is there can't be any sight or sound. There has to be sight or sound barriers from the adult facilities for the children. If a counselor, all the staff can only work in the adolescent facility. They can't be used as rotator to the other facilities. Obviously, the background checks are much more stringent for those staff. So the main issue is the capital that requires us to, whether it's build a fence around the adolescent facility, and we are working through that now. But in order to open that, and Dr. Hernandez did state that you do see these facilities co-located, such as adults and adolescent, but generally you'll see them a couple yards, 100 yards away, so that there's a clear distinction between them. As you all know, we're 30 yards away from the men's and women's PRT for the adolescents, so that's what we're having to work through in order to open up the adolescent facility.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. And then Kirk, final on the transitional piece of it. I understand you guys are getting your staffing
Correct.
ready and things of that nature. Would we, so on the transition piece, are we accepting, is the health system going to accept folks that are leaving another treatment facility to utilize our transitional, or do they have to come through our PRT?
The discussion has been that we expect it to be full, right? The transitional, I believe, is 6 women and 6 men. So especially at the beginning, until we kind of get our feet wet, I expect it to be only our folks once they leave our treatment facility. Now, in this downtime, we have had to refer some of our folks out that have came to us, and we've started those referrals. I could see a world where we accept those people out, or if we ever have to do a referral in the future for whatever reason, whether it be a waiting list or whatever you will. But initially, it will just be our clients directly from the PR men's and women's. Over.
Congressman Hamilton.
Yes, I attended the ribbon cutting back in July, and can you speak to what this facility means to us as a nation and to Northeast Oklahoma? Because I believe at the ribbon cutting, the youth component, the youth part of it was a really significant deal. Can you speak to that to some of our members who weren't there and to our listening audience?
Absolutely. And, whenever we've had numerous people that want to come and see our facilities, Unfortunately, they're not open at this very moment, but whenever they do open, and even to this point, they are state of the art. So we have other tribes that want to come see them and see our processes and see how we built it and those type of things. Whenever we bring anybody and do a tour of our campus, the first thing we do is we take them out to the PRT, and then we take them by the new clinic. And I'm not embellishing on this. Everybody that we tell that there's an adolescent facility says it is so needed. Not just in our area, it's needed within the state, it's needed nationwide. We understand why there's so few of them because of the regulations that are required by the facilities. But just seeing that our people, I tell them every time we take them through that just to refer them out and send them to, whether it be California or wherever, it means more for them to be here. And the biggest portion or piece to that is even if we take clients from outside of our reservation, outside of our tribe, keeping them culturally connected is an important factor to that. That's a big belief by mine. We have the sweat every single week, and then there's some different things we've done in the past that we're trying to incorporate, going back to the drum making, those type of things, because I always tell them that even if maybe it's not their culture where they come from, but it gives them something to connect to, and they either want to go back to their reservation, to where they live, and can get reintegrated into their culture, or they stay around here because they fell in love with our culture. So that cultural piece is so important for our folks. Instead of just sending them to a non-native ran facility, or somewhere that just has follows those, they're not doing the red road or the road to well-variety. I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but it's important for our folks to be here and have a connection to our culture. So that's the importance of these buildings. That's always been my feeling, at least.
Congressman Keene?
Yeah, this is such a great thing. So unfortunately, a lot of our Native youth come through the court systems, and many times we have to send them to Texas. We send them down to Lawton, Comanche. So this is like a beacon of hope here at home. So, you'll have maybe someone in Tulsa, well, they can come here and get help. So we all know people that suffer from addiction, substance abuse. So out of the PRT projects, I think this is one of the ones that was just a no-brainer. So again, like I said, a lot of other tribes will probably start depending on us too once we expand, because there aren't a lot of facilities, and like Kirk said, touching on the juvenile part, where we can offer this kind of service to help, other Native Americans too, all across the state. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Congresswoman Redcorn.
Thank you, Speaker. Yesterday, one of the things that was mentioned and talked about was on the spreadsheet we have, it shows that you have about $260,000 remaining from the initial appropriated amount. Yesterday we were told that it, I don't know if I just wrote that it remains. But what I hear you saying is you have a need now to do some capital things to the adolescent side. So do you see a need there to fully expend the rest of those funds on that? Or what does that process look like for you all? Or has that actually been eaten up in other projects? I don't know if that was eaten up in the fiber laying or maybe other things that needed to be done to tidy up everything, but it sounds like there's a fairly significant need on the adolescent side. Fencing is expensive and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering, if that 260 is correct, which I believe it is. I highlighted, I think 4 of us told us that amount. So if, I don't know, what does that look like for you guys and your needs for the adolescent side?
So we weren't aware of the 260 left over. We're just waiting on moving into the facility. That's the fencing obviously is going to cost quite a bit. It's the need, and then also in the back, you're going to have to build essentially 2 fences because you have to have an area for the kids to go out, and they have to still be separated. So we're absolutely going to need some funds. I won't ever say that we don't. And I'll even put the big push out there for any operational costs. We'll take some extra funding. But, we're lucky to receive some behavioral health funds through HHS, our ARPA funding. We're using for operational costs this first year, and then also the opioid settlement funding we're using to cover some of those as well. So if there is leftover, obviously we have another project we're going to be discussed later today, with the assisted living. But yeah, we could use that funds to kind of situate the adolescent to be able to open it.
Speaker, if I may.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. And so hopefully we can confirm that that is still available. So the second part of that is, if you were able to utilize the 260 to get the adolescent component up and running, do you think that that money could be obligated by the end of the year in order for that to stay compliant? Is that doable?
Well, first, let me caveat what I said earlier is, Secretary Johnson, we've been having these meetings with Dr. Hernandez. We haven't made him aware of this yet because we actually just had another follow-up call with her yesterday about some other items. So they're not aware of it, so it's not an issue with them. The plan was to make them aware of it sooner rather than later. I would expect that, we could get that contract in place before then and get the work done.
Thank you. I think it'd be nice if, I hate that they have to have fencing all around their property, but I think there's a way, and you all will do it, where it's aesthetic and comforting and welcoming and makes you feel safe rather than like you're in jail.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to watch play out. Thank you.
Congressman Bighorst.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Shaw, this is a great deal for our nation because of the separation and us having to send them out. We've been doing that for decades. One thing that I wanted to impress upon you is the sight and sound separation issue. That can be a really sticky issue, and temporarily, I think putting them into another building and building a fence would be sufficient, but we really need to look at and talk about building a separate building that is completely away from them. 100 yards is probably sufficient, but we do need a separate facility away from the children, away from the adults. And I say that because those people that are going to be monitoring you, if they get an inkling that there is some sort of communication going on, they will close you down. So, I just want you to keep that in mind and do the best that you can on the sight and sound separation. Thank you.
Chair, if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys remember, there was I believe it was 320 acres on that piece of land. Now, we do run into a floodplain the further north you go on there. But that's what we discussed with Dr. Hernandez is maybe down the road, we do something temporary with that, with the adolescent facility now, because we're going to need to expand. That's the reality behind it, whether it's men's, women's. So maybe we're able to repurpose that adolescent facility after we've built another one, 100 yards away, 150 yards away, however far away it needs to be able to coexist on that land.
Any additional questions, Congress? Okay, thank you very much for that update. Going down the list, it looks like, and members, please feel free to stop me if this is not correct, but let's go ahead and go to assisted living. We did talk about assisted living yesterday with the executive team, but we do have folks from our health system here, so I wanted to give them an opportunity. And I believe that we have Mr. Rogers, CEO Rogers, with us as well. Could you verify that, clerk? But if you guys want to go ahead and take this time to update us on assisted living, please.
I'll go ahead and start. As you all know, we've been going on this project for a while now. Where we're at this juncture, as I stated yesterday, there is a contract for the A&E that we're working through now. We just had our third meeting or fourth meeting last week. That was the initial cost for the project. There's been a couple different numbers that have been thrown out. The pie in the sky, which is what we initially designed it for, was well over $20 million. Now, to address some of the questions yesterday, Congresswoman Good Fox and different ones had is how did we get up to those 32 beds? That's for 2 cottages, 16 beds. So we are going to be able to bill for these services. The 32 beds, 2 cottages with the activity center was in order for us to bill enough to break even at 12 months. And then it'd be self-sustaining. With the contractors last week, they were going to provide us with 3 separate options. The third option is go ahead and design for the pie in the sky, just for us to see it. The second option is that price tag that Secretary Johnson alluded to yesterday, and I believe that was the activity center and 1 cottage. And then the third option was make this project work within the $8 million that we were appropriated. Again, the reason we've went further than that, and it's optimal for the health system at least, to go anywhere more than what was appropriated is in order for it to be self-sustaining, and we don't have to continue to come back to Congress to ask for operational funds every year. But we are ready to move forward with the project if the wish is to go ahead and move forward with the $8 million that we have. Again, those 3 options were in the contract, or we're in the A&E phase, and we expect to have them, I believe, next Thursday. Correct, Mr. James? Okay. So next Thursday, we'll have those options laid out to us and be able to move forward with the design if we want to move forward on that $8 million price tag for what was appropriated.
Congresswoman Redcorn?
Thank you. So you kind of touched on something that I thought a lot about driving home yesterday. As far as, at first it's a little bit of sticker shock hearing that we need a little bit more money, and then it made me consider what you just talked about, the self-sustaining in 12 months. And so I was curious if you all had looked at those thresholds, which obviously you have. So at what point does it not make sense if you're too small to be self-sustaining, but then also what's that threshold if you get too big that it possibly wouldn't be full? And my biggest concern, I think, because of the rural nature of it, I know that there's a need for the beds, but I was concerned about staffing, because the bigger you get in an assisted living facility, you need so many different levels of specialized care and licensing, and you need so many different roles. And so it's not that I didn't think you all had done your research on it. So I was just thinking through all of those different things. If you get too big, you also need more staff, and that might be hard to find in this area. But then also if you get too big, you might take on too much, and it isn't necessarily self-sustaining because your expenses would outweigh your revenue from Medicare and other payers. But it sounds like 16 is too small to be self-sustaining in a short amount of time, and that makes sense. But then 32 is kind of your magic number on what allows you to be self-sustaining. And so I'm guessing staffing also is appropriate and doable at a 32-bed facility.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, yes, it is a lot of extra money. So is the pie in the sky also, the pie in the sky option, is it also the 2 cottages in the activity center, just with maybe a little bit of fluff?
Correct, and that was add in, everything. There was a original ask for a pool, for aquatics and those aerobics and those type of things. So that's everything involved, included.
Okay. Speaker, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I'll kind of ask you to do the same thing that, and we can talk more about this in health too, but same thing that Congressman Hamilton asked about PRT. We talked a lot about in the health meeting when you all presented this, the excitement level around this with the state and other communities. Could you speak to that a little bit about how this would impact this area and our people?
Yeah, absolutely. As many of you alluded to yesterday, we know folks that, are people that would need this. Mr. James back here, I'm actually going to, if it's okay with you all, let him get up and talk about it. But whenever the original, notice was put out that he was the director over and that we would be getting this, he's had, a tribal member from Oregon that has reached out and said that they're ready to come home. There was another state that they were, same thing, they're ready to come home. So it provides our people outside of our jurisdiction somewhere to come home to, but it also provides our people within our reservation that want to stay here and need that extra help, that watch. You know, we all have loved ones that from time to time would have very much benefited from this. And also, you know, the continuous outings and keeping them in the community, that's the biggest portion to this assisted living. Not just having them cooped up in a building, but if I could, if that's okay with you all, I'll have David come up. And David is our Senior Services Director and over this program.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, so currently, from my data, that there's 2 tribes that own a nursing home in the state. Choctaw Nation purchased a nursing home probably 20 years ago in Antlers, Oklahoma. Actually, I was the administrator there at one time, but they don't manage it. Comanche Nation, I believe, purchased one in Lawton. And this design was actually, I was approached 17 years ago with the Comanches to do this very same concept. At the last minute, they chose to purchase an existing nursing home, long-term care center. I've been meeting with the State Department of Health, and the medical model is something that's never been done in corporate or in the state. And it's almost like having a assisted living with providing skilled nursing services. And they have not said no, they have not said yes, but they're very supportive, because it's almost like going to create like a swing bed so that people can live there in assisted living, but at the same time, and we've had this happen throughout the year, some of our elders have a stroke or a fall or break a hip, have hip surgery, and they're sent off to Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and obviously the data shows that if you're around your family, your recovery time is a lot better. It's hard for that, kind of the same thing like the PRT. When you send our elders off to Oklahoma City to receive care, well, that eliminates the family can't get there during the recovery process. So if we could do a similar type of doing that rehabilitation back here, then it does a couple of things. One, it brings our loved one back home, and they can be here close to their family members. Number 2, it's another little level of care that we can bill for services that will. There's a business side and the compassionate side, and they filter in. They're a good marriage, because I'm trying to look at the model where we wouldn't have to come back to Congress every year and say we need these extra funds. The model itself is a state of the art. Never has been done, to my knowledge. No tribe has done this. The feasibility study, which was done by experts out of this state, shows that the need's there in this county. Now, one thing was very important about the activity center is it could eventually turn into a day program, an adult day program. I helped oversee one at Cherokee Nation a few years back, and they have a PACE program and they have an adult day program. Now, why that's so important to the community too, because there's ways to build off that, but it could be an option later down the road. But the setup is having the senior housing there, and we have a grant called Pathways Grant that works directly with the seniors, and the CHR program. We are like having every level that's how the nature of life should be. Independent housing, and we're all on one campus, which is amazing, because theoretically, when I know we have seniors living in independent housing now, but they probably need assisted living. That's the transition. They could go from a senior housing to this facility, and then that's their home. So the state's excited. A lot of the different tribes are very excited about what we're doing, and I think just overall the main thing is having our elders stay at home and not be sent off to different areas of the state. But yeah, so did that answer your question? And so we have looked at thresholds. I've met with some of the foremost experts in senior care in the United States, and there are thresholds, and so the magic number of 32, that is to get to a point to where it is self-sustainable, and then you have more of a swing bed to where there's a couple of rooms that we can use either assisted living or maybe someone needs to be a rehabilitation and receive physical therapy, occupational therapy, things like that. The concept of the community being right there at one campus is amazing, because overall, later on, we're looking at walking trails and things like that, and making that that's their home, a community living. And so that's the concept.
Congresswoman Good Fox?
So that is good. I love everything I'm hearing, and that is not what we heard yesterday. What we heard yesterday was we need another $8 million or this isn't going to happen. This is a $16 million project. And, going back to when we first appropriated these dollars, we know the need is there. I mean, we aren't sure how, we aren't sure what the numbers will be. The need is definitely there. And, I was fortunate enough 12 years ago when my mom passed away, she had a lot of sisters that could come and help me and my brother. But not everyone has that. And we all know people that are in assisted living or nursing homes, and they're outside of our boundary. Yeah. And their family has a hard time getting there. And so I'm glad to hear this, that you all are willing to go with what we have appropriated, because that's not what we heard yesterday at all. And I think that this body compromised where we could, when at first our expectation was we need 3. And we need them to be, within these districts. And then executive came back and said, we can't do 3 with this money, but we can do 1. And so we were like, okay, you all are the ones that are doing the research on this and the homework on this. And so if you can do 1 for $8 million and put it within our boundary, let's go that route. And I like the idea of looking ahead later on of doing, because I wouldn't be opposed to providing money for a day center. I mean, that is a great idea, that our elders around here, they couldn't even dream of something like that right now. Now, we know those places exist, especially those of us that live in big cities or have lived in a big city. They exist. Condos, gated living, senior retirement. I mean, there are some senior retirements out there with their own zip code, literally with their own zip code. They have movie theaters, they have this, that, we're just asking for assisted living to start. And I think that is, it's needed. And the only question I have is, would you all be able to, or could you foresee something like this? So we have families, I know 2 families just off the top of my head, one within the boundary and one outside, where they are taking care of, and it's a collaborative family effort to take care of their elder. But they need a break sometimes. There's two kids and they're not working and they're taking care of their mom, but they do need a break sometimes. So could you tell me if that would ever be possible, where if you had space or room or a bed where it would be short-term, planned, I guess, yes, yeah, to take care of. Is that something that you have ever seen? And I don't know, so that's why I'm asking.
Yes, absolutely. There's two ways to accomplish that. There are some services that provide just respite care, like the caregivers can come in and spend a day, and it gives the caregivers a time to go get their hair done or go to a barber shop or whatever it may be. But if we had the space, and I'm talking like later in the future, where that if we chose to look at doing an adult day center, then we could literally have where the caregivers would drop mom or dad off at the center and come back at 4:30 and pick them up. And it would be a day program, 5 days a week, and that would allow some caregivers still able to work, because a lot of times when you have caregivers, sometimes they will have to resign from their position, because caregiving can be a full-time job. And so there's avenues definitely like that. And we're always trying to look for grants and things like that to supplement the services because, like I said before, I don't want to come to Congress every year and say we need more money. But I do know the need is there, and there's other options to look at. But absolutely, that would be a part of the activity center. It could be a structured program that if someone needed to come in, drop someone off. And I think the biggest thing is you're putting them in a safe place, a safe environment where skilled professionals are going to be watching them, licensed professionals. And there's many more things that it does just besides respite care. If you get eyes on them, and let's say elder comes in and they tell a worker that, hey, I got dizzy last night, I about fell or I did fall. We can immediately work in that system to get them seen by their provider that day. And so that way, that information's exchanged, they're checking on each other. There could even be, when I was in my past, we developed where it was a 24-hour phone call system to where at night, if someone got dizzy or lightheaded or fell, they would call that number and speak to a nurse. So there's many things that you can add to it. But the answer is yes, absolutely. And I think that's where it goes back to that continuum care services. When we do this, once again, we'll go back to independent housing, assisted living. If we do a little bit of skilled nursing, a little bit of rehab, we're kind of in maybe a day program, we're covering the gamut. And that's like you said, those campuses that I've seen in Pittsburgh and some of the massive campuses that house 500 people. They are 5 stories high. So yeah, it can be done. And like I said, it's state of the art. No one's ever done this in Indian country that I know of. And that's what definitely made me want to come here to do this, because I tried to do it 20 years ago with Comanches, but it's something that I know that's needed. And I have, as Mr. Shaw said, I have 3 Osage tribal elders that call me from 3 different states about every other month or once a month. And 2 of them are already in assisted living in California and Oregon, and they want to come back. And so there's those avenues too, those situations. But yeah, there's many services like that could be done. Kind of like wraparound care is what how I look at it.
Congresswoman Rick Horn.
Thank you, Speaker. And again, I could get real excited about it. I used to work in hospice care and pharmacy care for long-term care. Anyway, I could get really excited and talk to you about this for a long time, but I will ask a couple of things just so we can kind of wrap our minds around what we're looking at, like long-term, big picture on this ask and the services that it'll provide. And so when you talk about your skilled nursing beds that are available, sometimes our people, when they go into those scenarios, into a skilled nursing and sometimes even to a rehab setting, they just decide they're done they just are done. And then so they start to journey on. And so you're looking then at an end of life care scenario. And so are we going to be set up to be able to welcome that and accommodate that if it happens? And then that's the first question. Or like basically are they going to be able to stay there and have see that through? And then also on the skilled nursing side and even on the rehab side, is there going to be a partnership with home health to come in and facilitate some of those services and provide us extra needs? Because, that also is a revenue generator for them too, if they can come in and provide some of the services. And then also my third question, I'll just go ahead and do all of them. Are you going to partner with our pharmacy to do your med deliveries and organization? I just want to see how it all connects and everybody benefits.
Well, very good questions. So the answer to the first question, yes, I think, this kind of services, end of life is part of the process. It's part of the life. And as they transition in, there's a term in that population. It's called age in place. And so you're trying to get when our seniors transition, you want to hold them there as long as you can, because I say hold them, I mean provide that service, because that's their home. And I look at it like if it was their home, that's where they would want to be. And you're hoping that in our staffing, I'm hoping to recruit Osage tribal members, Native Americans, and even down to the decor, putting things in there like pictures and pictures of things that what you would hang in your home is what I want our seniors to see and be a part of. So that would be to me the biggest goal, if we could provide that service. Because what more of an honor could we have to go from senior housing there in the community to that honor of having end of life? I mean, so many times in this frame of work, that's what I hear is that people want to go home. And so to provide it, that's just, to me, that's part of that service. It's going to happen. And I think that's the flexibility with having that partnership with the State Department of Health, is having that flexibility to do this. Now, there's some things that we probably couldn't do, like if someone was on a ventilator, something really intensive care type treatment, I think that we probably couldn't do that, just mainly because of the type of licensure and the type of equipment you would need. But we could do a lot of other things. And your second question was? Oh, home health, yes. I think it goes back to the all-inclusive care. It would be another component, kind of like another tool in your tool belt. Like we're going to have a need for that. I mentioned the Pathways grant earlier, and we've already utilized home health for people coming and give baths to our elders. Some of them haven't had a bath in a long time after a surgery. So yeah, that's very part of this too. So third question. Oh yeah, okay. So, and I can talk about this all day long too. So sorry. Kirk's probably back there saying he needs to quit talking, but so how we have it planned is the mobile medical unit will come down there regularly, at least weekly. But at the same time, in the assisted living or in this setting, we're going to also have to have a provider come down and do, whether it be daily routines, every other day, or as needed. And so we're going to be utilizing not only the pharmacy, but we're hoping to get all the residents, this would be their home provider here in Pawhuska, the new clinic. And then that way, if something is needed, or let's say they need to be further tested, then they're scheduled and they come into the clinic. But we're also going to have the mobile medical units down there on a regular basis to do checking on them regularly. Medication management, any checking labs, things that would pertain to their health. And I think that, so utilizing our own existing healthcare system, and I'm going to go to the business side of it, that's the revenue that goes back to our health system. So if they're on Medicaid, Medicare, or Providence, whatever it may be, VA, then those services can be billed back through the clinic. We can also bill through the mobile medical units, and then bill for the services at the assisted living itself.
Thank you, Congresswoman Revart.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. Thank you for coming and presenting on the assisted living. And, when we talked about this, it's been some time now. And I think, let's see, back in 21 was the initial, in August of 21. And then since then, which made me feel better in the decision to vote for this, because this wasn't, this project kind of derived out of this body rather than the executive. And that was us just looking at ARPA dollars and thinking like, what's out there? Well, of course, I always went to our strategic plan. What are the people saying that they want? And that was one of them. Or what their need was. And then I'm sure you've looked at our census results, pop back, same thing, very clear. We ask our people, what do you want? Or what do you need, basically? And they said independent living, number one, and then assisted living. And then you can see on down skilled nursing, individualized, so I feel like we're on the right track. If you look at from infancy all the way on, and I hate to say it, but we've tried to connect this to the funeral home, and you don't want to say, but that is part of end of life and how we take care of our people, how we take care of our people culturally in doing so. And this just fits into me in that circle of life that we're trying to provide to our people. So I appreciate you guys staying on and still, meeting and discussing what this looks like. So what do you are looking at? What was the number that you guys think that for the build.
Okay. James, would you- okay, Kurt?
What was the number?
Are you referring to the pie in the sky? The pie in the sky was the 25 million, but
25, okay.
roughly around that. But they are providing us with a build within the $8 million appropriation. And of course, that would include future expansion, hopefully. But they're going to give us 3 separate options. And as soon as we get them, hopefully it'll be before one of the next committee meeting, Health and Social Services Committee meetings, we could provide that.
Okay, and then do you happen to have the operational costs that'll go with that?
Mr. Brazel. And I will say one thing, as Mr. James said, we are looking for funding. We're notified the IHS is possibly going to fund. They don't generally get into any type of long-term care funding. They're opening a joint venture this year. And if you're not familiar with it, what they do is they award programs or tribes, and they will fund your staffing and all operation costs for an X amount of years if you're awarded. So we're going to put forth the application for that, best faith effort, and hopefully we'll get that. So we're working to find funding and other ways for our operational costs. So.
Wonderful, thank you.
Good morning. So the operational cost based on if the $8 million builds the program and it houses approximately 12 beds instead of the 16, just a 12 bed. So for the first 12 months, there's 3 different options of what can go in here. So we're looking at either a skilled, assisted living, or a long-term care. So that's kind of have them broke up in my analysis. So we'll just say for the first 12 months of operations, as far as needing operating cost this is estimated based on meeting with the consultant on our payer mix and the estimated payments for Medicare, Medicaid, and our volume, and then looking at the operational costs themselves as far as for having one 12-bed facility and the activity center at this point. We'll see what $8 million can do, but this is what the 12-bed structure is built on. And the operational cost for the staffing for the 12 beds and the staffing for the activity center at this point. But until we get more closer, but this is where we're estimating. For the first 12 months, for the skilled, we're needing approximately $1.4 million. For the assisted living, approximately $1.5 million. And then for the long-term care, approximately 1.5. And then for the long-term care, approximately 1.5. That's the first 12 months of operations. So now let's look past the first 12 months where we fully have 12 in the bed, 12 members at the same time in there. What does going forward look like? Based on our census of 12, based on now we're up and running and we're on everything with our full operational cost. We're estimating approximately $38,000 a month for the skilled we'll need for, say, year 2, which is approximately $450,000. Assisted living, we're looking for approximately $67,000 a month, which is approximately $800,000. I'm rounding, of course. And for the long-term care, we're looking at approximately $59,000 a month in needing operating costs, which is approximately a little over $700,000. So that would be the estimated needed appropriations, we'll say, for year 2 and going forward. Because at 12 beds currently, the way the model is built out with 12 beds, fully staffed with patients and clinical, and then if the $8 million still allows for the full activity center component, then that would be the need for every year appropriations. Once, like Mr. Shaw says, once they come back with what $8 million can really build, then we will adjust the numbers for the staffing for all the operational cost. But just looking at a 12-bed right now, fully staffed, and the activity center, that's the estimated year 1, easy math, 1.5, and then year 2 would be approximately $500,000 to $800,000, depending on whether it's skilled, assisted, or long-term care. Or it may end up being a mixture of patients in there. So that would be probably the range, if that makes sense, of what the mix of patients is.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Thank you so much for that great update. Much appreciated, and looking forward to progress on that one, of course. So back to our list of items that we need to go over. Members, I just wanted to, looks like we're down to, well, the flooring on the Butcher House, but that has been complete for some time. There are some unobligated funds that are listed. So real quickly, I wanted to ask Treasurer Batson, most of these projects have unobligated funds that are listed, knowing that our deadline for obligating them is December 31st. How is that going to be handled and coordinated? Is there any one person that's in charge of making sure that the deadline is met?
Right now, I have Claire as our lead person, but I've also added Christy Fulkerson to the project, who's the grants director. And it's being basically monitored every day, and we're tying everything down.
Okay, thank you. So directives will be, when you say you're tying everything down, you're keeping track of, on a daily basis, what funds are obligated, not obligated, keeping.
It's a constant project that is worked on daily.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Next, we're on the detention center. That's something that we haven't talked about in a while. There were no ARPA funds appropriated to this, however, $250,000 out of the general fund, and it is listed as a capital project. So I would like for us to have a discussion about the detention center. Mr. Zahn, do you have any updates?
Madam Speaker, we're supposed to have Cherokee on the line to discuss this. Cherokee Chishwala. I don't know if she's logged in yet or not.
It doesn't look like she is. We can move on down the list until she's available.
May I? Okay, sure.
Yeah, let's go ahead and keep moving. Next on our spreadsheet is the Heritage Center. Also something that we haven't discussed in a while. There was $600,000 appropriated from the general fund, but no ARPA dollars on that one. And it looks like there's $570,000 in unobligated funds. So only $30,000 of the $600,000 have been contracted. Thank you, Secretary Bicorse. You have the floor.
Good morning. We've stamped in the master plan for the Heritage Center. I don't know if everyone has had a chance opportunity to look at the Heritage Center. The balance that you're talking about is the ONCA 22-28. And yeah, we have a balance of $580,000. We only used about $10,000 of it. The reason is before we started working with Seltzer Schaefer, we was working with an architectural company called McFarland, and we already went through some exercises on building the floor plans for the Heritage Center. So we had a lot of that legwork done on the Heritage Center. And so we went ahead and incorporated that work that we had already had done into this plan. So that's why there's a remaining balance of that monies, of that funding.
Okay.
So, but we are going to need to utilize it in the future as we continue to move forward with the Heritage Center. We have, quite a ways to go yet. And so that's what I have on that ONCA-2028.
Thank you very much. Congresswoman Rivard.
Yes, thank you. So the support docs that we received this morning, that the clerks have sent out, the total cost of this proposed design Secretary Big Horse, the total, it looks like is $39,262,593.
That's correct, but that's not including the A&E. We still have the A&E to go yet. That's my understanding. This is my first build. So I'm, working my way through this. And we plan on also hiring a owner's rep. That's initially what we need to do first, is hire an owner's rep. And then the owner's rep will guide us through the process.
May I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
With that price tag, I feel like when we've talked about it, we kind of get to this point, and this is where we're kind of stuck. That's just my own observation, is the price tag. Because one of the reasons you'll see that is you don't see anybody jumping up and filing a bill for the 39. Because I'm one of the Congress members here, and there's others around me. We want this for our people. We want a cultural center, a heritage center that can house our folks. These are very important departments, as are the others. But the price tag seems so high, and I don't know. I'd like to hear, and I know this isn't your decision, Van. What is the executives? What are their thoughts on this? Are we just gonna sit? Or are we going to say, let's go back, team, and let's look and get down to where it's feasible?
Yeah.
So what is the next step? Or is executive coming down here saying, you know what, guys, we want it at 39 million. And then are we going to seek a loan? How are we going to go about funding the project? I guess is my question, is how we go about funding this big ticket item.
Yes. So, as in April, we had, we had a meeting. We invited, Congressman Big Horse and Congresswoman Rivard, and we brought together the Osage Nation Foundation. Bill Webb, he joined our meeting. And so, we are kind of at a point where we need to start discussing seriously on how we are going to raise the fund for this project, $38 million. And so part of the reason for us not continuing on with meetings right now is we were trying to get through all the hype of the movies, all the Killers of the Flower Moon movie, and going through all that. And then we're going to convene back, starting here after this session's over, and start looking at the realistic looks of what we need to do. Is there some design that we can possibly cut back on to lower the cost? We're going to have to start looking at some serious, discussion on what do we really need. And as Osages, I know we want the best. And this is a one-shot time, I think, that we have to build something that's going to take us into the future for our children. And so we're going to reconvene starting after this session, and we're going to start looking at exactly what you're talking about. How are we going to raise the money? Where's the money going to come from? How committed are we as the Osage Nation to build this? So those are going to be the questions that need to be answered. I can't answer those questions at this time. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up, Speaker. Yes. And you're right, and I want to mention, because the next discussion is going to be the museum, and so the meeting in that too, Kahika had kind of created a committee to kind of move this a little bit further, and that committee, I think, was made up of Secretary Big Horse and Miss Catherine and Miss Marla and
Julie O'Keefe was, and Braxton and Chad Renfro.
And so there's, they've got a group, because it is, again, it's a collaborative effort, of course, and we were trying to share costs. But so what we have, we had Bill Webb attended, because we're like, well, could the foundation maybe step in and help us, start fundraising for different efforts for the museum or this, because it falls in line with their mission.
Correct.
And so we just thought, well, what if we get all the minds together at one table? I always say that, get the key players. And so that's kind of, I feel good that I'd reached out to Secretary Bighorse, that have they met since? And I feel like what he said, they're here getting ready to move forward. But, you know, and I thank you, Congresswoman Goodfox, for, I think the foundation's going to come in and speak to us. But I'm excited to hear how we move forward on this.
Yeah.
And I thank you guys for not, you know, dropping. I think they're even talking about it in the elders, the tribal advisory folks.
Oh, TCA committee?
Yeah, TCA,
Okay.
because if you remember, when I filed that bill initially, I went there first to make sure I get support from those guys.
Yes.
You know, like, we're going to try to move forward here, because
Yes.
right now we have this building is still standing over here. There's been nothing done to demolish that, and I know that's not in your realm. That would be under, I would think, I don't know, I think tribal development, but it may be somewhere else. But to demolish that building so that we could extract that multi-use building. I want to make clear, my intent of supporting with Congressman Bighorse, we co-sponsored that multi-purpose building. It was not my intent that is not our heritage center.
No,
and I
it's-
want everybody to know that was not the intent of, we're going to put up a multi-purpose building and oh, there you go. That was not it. It was for us to continue. And I mean, Congressman Maker, you've been down this with us since when, 2002, 3, we've talked about this building, and 4. And,
Yes.
and again, we keep saying that, but this has been a project that's been we've been trying to get off the ground for some time. And so anyway, thank you, Secretary.
Yes.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, well, I think this would be a good time to move into the museum expansion.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Marla Red-Carmelo, Director of Museum. And is this on ARPA or capital funds for the museum expansion?
We're talking about capital projects, which include ARPA projects as well. Now, on the spreadsheet that I have, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at this spreadsheet, it doesn't show ARPA funds. What I show are $100,000 for roads, property income account 250, and museum fund 250.
This is the allocation of ARPA funds for the museum, and it was several projects. So the update on that is we have right now, we have refined, we had initially 4 projects, and we've synthesized them into 2 different projects because of our staffing size, but all of these efforts are towards the eventual new space of a museum. So what we've done is we've taken those ARPA funds and looking to do a Wajaji permanent exhibition. And so we are moving forward with all of that, and it's come down to the Wajaji permanent exhibition that was going to be designed for the new space, but because of the delays in the creation of the new space, what we propose to do and have been approved to do is do a pilot permanent exhibition in the space that we presently have. So it would pilot out these themes and these topics that we want to use when we eventually have the new space of the museum to elaborate those ideas out. So the Wajaji permanent exhibition and the 2229 digitization project. And so the progress that we have made in both of those areas is with the digitization project. As you know, we have 2,229 allottees, and we're getting photographs and biographies as we can. And we've hosted an allottee reception in June of last year. And in the spring of this year, we launched 2 online portals for people to submit on our webpage. And so now we have approximately 700 images of allottees to accumulate from that out of the 2,229, which is really good. And so the work that's been done on that too, the former museum director, Hallie Winter, is the collections manager, and so since she's very familiar with all of these projects and has worked on it, it's been really, she's been working with the staff to update and clean up those data files and get a real number on these and look at what we have currently, if you've been to the museum, up on the wall, to resolve some of the things that we have copyrights to, the ones that we don't, original photographs versus reproductions versus digital files. And so looking at all of those things to do that. So our efforts have been in those areas. And so we're continuing to accumulate those pieces. And because of moving it towards a pilot project, a pilot exhibition, it's going to be a beautiful exhibition. It's going to look like a completed exhibition within our space. But the conceptual part of that is going to be used to really experiment and see what's really hitting with our people, what we need to modify, and what we need to bring forward when we have the new museum and that beautiful, great space that we can put those things in. And so where we are right now, one of the discrepancies, I mean, not a discrepancy, but well, it was something that had to be corrected. We have one of the areas we have a group of people doing object prep. So object prep is getting through and organizing better our photos, our archives, and our collections areas, so that when our curators can come in, that they have better access to those. So we had on staff, we have an assistant curatorial collections assistant for object prep for this exhibition, and those funds were coming out of our tribal dollars rather than our ARPA dollars. So that's one of the reasons that some of the funds looks like the same. We've rectified that and made that correction, and moving forward, they will be coming out of the proper budget item. So that's one area. And then the other is, so we have these two projects and professional services to complete the permanent exhibition, Osage exhibition, would be in professional services $497,000 and $260, and that includes the object prep assistance for photos, archives, and documentation, an exhibit designer, an exhibit planner, and then elders, compensation for interviews with elders, an exhibit video, and travel for those curators. What we want to do, even though it seems like overkill, it might seem on the outside overkill to have so many curators in on such a small exhibition, is because we're going to pile it out and they're going to blow those out in larger spaces as time comes, so they can kind of sink into the narrative, the story that we're crafting here in these different areas, and continue on that when we do the next phase of it, which would be within the new space. And so so we have 3 curators, and so that's for that. And then we have also, what was I going to say? For the next part is the software development for Alati Interactive. This is a digitization project, the Alati. In one of those spaces in the exhibit that will be in the museum that we have presently, like I'm calling the Osage pilot sort of exhibition, is going to be a research carrel. So all of that information, we're going to get a software designer in. We're releasing an RFP so that we can have somebody in contract by the beginning of the year to develop the software and a research carrel, so a digitization space. So when people come in to the museum, they'll have something that's integrated into the museum space to do their own research into our database system. And it will be designed to integrate in with a larger exhibition. And included in that, we still have 2 Alati receptions that we want to do. We did one in Pawhuska. We'd like to do one in Hominy, and also Gray Horse. And when we had that, we had about 250 people come, about 70 photographs taken of family members of the different Alati descendants. And we plan to do that in the other 2 districts in this coming year. And so we have funds for that. And so that's kind of a separate project. It's the contemporary people of today. And Tom Fields came in and took those photographs, and we put them up on Flickr. So that's the total amount. The total amount for completing the Osage permanent exhibition planning, and also the digitization project for the Alati is $845,700. And that's from this day moving forward.
Thank you so much. Questions? No questions? Thank you. Continue to do good work.
Thank you very much.
We will without objection, why don't we take a quick break, let everyone go to the bathroom, get a drink, and then we'll come back and start with the detention center. Thank you.